By 1918, war had been raging across Europe for 4 years. Millions of soldiers and civilians had died. So who won, and how did it all come to an end? In the end, the United States and its allies were victorious. What comes next is what happens at the end of every war. All participating countries get into negotiations to determine how the losers will pay and what the winners will gain. And then treaties are drawn up and signed by all countries. And that is the focus of our essential question today. We will be learning about the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations. As you are listening, take notes that help explain why the United States chose not to ratify the Treaty of Versailles or join the League of Nations. Let's begin where the war came to an end. An armistice is a truce or temporary suspension of hostilities by agreement between warring parties. On November 11, 1918, fighting between the United States and Germany halted on the Western Front after the signing of an armistice. This was the first step in ending the war. It was renewed several times before the Great War ultimately came to an end. Today, Armistice Day is Veterans Day, honoring all veterans that have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. At the close of war, Germany is held responsible by the Treaty of Versailles. In this treaty, Germany agrees to pay reparations, limits are placed on their military, and Germany loses colonial territory, which would be split between winning nations. The League of Nations, which was created by Woodrow Wilson, was included as the body that would uphold the treaty. In the wake of the First Global War, President Woodrow Wilson wrote what would be known as his 14 points, which would later be included in the Treaty of Versailles. The 14 points were a forgiving peace plan, which called for self-determination to allow the people to decide how it will be governed. No secret agreements. Countries could no longer have secret treaties or alliances. It called for free trade and open seas among nations, and would form the League of Nations to prevent future wars. However, Woodrow Wilson's idealism was not reciprocated across the country. There was a lot of opposition to the League of Nations, with Congress opposing, and many Americans not eager for more foreign commitments. Many Americans wanted to see the United States go back to a policy of isolationism where we stay out of the business of Europe. Congress and Wilson could not compromise on the League of Nations or the Treaty of Versailles, as they were a package deal. As a result, the United States did not ratify the treaty or the League of Nations. The League was ultimately formed, but without the United States' participation. Ultimately, a lot of changes took place in the wake of World War I and other countries' agreement with the Treaty of Versailles. First, new boundaries were formed throughout Eastern Europe. Russia became the Soviet Union, a communist country. The United States returned to isolationism, although we continued our involvement in the world market or economy. Take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. Why didn't the United States ratify the Treaty of Versailles or join the League of Nations, which our own president had created?